So my name's Rachel. I work for Goodman Masson, who have over 100 employees. They work at financial recruitment. I have a team of 4, so my role involves managing that team of 4, general business development and candidate management. I think it depends. I mean, I actually think leaders come in all different sort of shapes and sizes. I don't think you ever get a perfect leader. I think to think you are is a little short-sighted. And a lot of the time it will depend on the team that you have. But somebody who listens, someone who takes the time to get to know their staff, has empathy for their staff, but perhaps not sympathy. So I think there's a bit of a borderline there. And someone, I mean, for me, someone who leads by example is really, really important. I mean, I find it very difficult to respect a leader who hasn't demonstrated to me that they can do what I can do. And I'm sure that there are other people who would consider themselves high achievers probably think the same way. You want to be able to see it done to really, I suppose, respect that person and take their advice and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think they're probably the most important. They're probably the most important things. Determination, yeah, a lot of drive, a lot of determination. It depends on the person. Some people have just got a good sort of sales patter, but with what I do, I think organisation is quite important. Being quite process driven, you know, in your ability to actually break down the sales process and manage that effectively. Being able to, I think everyone hits a wall once, at least once in a sales career, so potentially being able to hit a few walls, because I think probably you hit a wall in every role you encounter, and you might be fine for sort of 18 months and then it can all sort of fall off a cliff and you've kind of got to just pick yourself back up again. And obviously the ability to deal with quite difficult people at times and not let it bother you. I mean, almost sort of make it fun. To be honest, I think it might sound quite controversial, but it's actually down to the individual to eradicate that. You know, a lot of women I don't think are particularly good about talking about their achievements and saying I've done this and I've done that, and you know, rather than seeing it as showing off, actually just proving the things that you've done, keeping a record of where you've made improvements, where your work's direct. I mean, in sales, then where your work's directly affected an increase in revenue, whether it's directly or indirectly, and just pushing them and, you know, selling that. I think lots of people are afraid to ask for pay rises, whereas, you know, I think historically, if you were to look at the sort of traditional family model, if there's just a guy and a woman and he's working, he's going to push for that pay rise because he wants to go on a family holiday, and I think it's not necessarily been ingrained in women and quite as much. So I don't think that I would bet that I'm probably paid quite equally to my male counterparts, but it's because I ask for a pay rise every year and I prep them for it about 6 months in advance. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. Always keeping evidence. So I mean right from day one. So you've just got your pay rise at Christmas. You're going to probably want to ask for one in 12 months' time. Just making sure that you keep any evidence that you have. So whether it's, you know, if it's in sales, then sales leads, or if it's in a different office, it might be that you've mentored other staff but you're not a manager. It might be, you know, that you've helped someone out when they're off sick, or that you've learned at someone else's job, or, you know, just anything really that demonstrates that you're going above and beyond, or at least meeting the expectations that they've set to you. And then obviously if you're going above and beyond, then that would justify specifically justify sort of a pay rise, and always going in probably twice what you actually want, so that both parties feel like they've met in the middle. Decide what you want, understand what your strengths are, be very open to criticism. I don't think, well, more to the point, I know that when I've progressed most, it's because I've had that negative feedback, and rather than getting upset about it or thinking that it's a terrible thing, actually seeing that as just a way to improve. So, you know, a weakness is just an area of development, and if you know what those weaknesses are, the sooner you know what they are, the faster you can actually move on and develop them into something and actually learn something from that. And just really hard work. I mean, at the end of the day, that is the key. Don't expect to turn up at 8:30 and go home at 5:30 if you want to get ahead. Expect to pull those late nights, expect to work through your lunch hours, do those things, because all that hard work pays off and it doesn't have to continue forever. And I think women, more than men, struggle probably to compartmentalise their lives a little bit more. So I know for a start, I think it probably had a bit of an effect on me when I was working, you know, really long hours. I was still going home thinking about work, dreaming about work, and that's not particularly healthy. You know, likewise, don't bring your relationship problems into work. You know, keep those at home. I think it's good to have things separate and to learn where that cut-off point is, to turn your phone off at night, you know, to do those things until you've actually learned to do it naturally. I think that's really important, because if you're not, I think if you don't switch off, then you don't function particularly well and you can't give either part of your life 100%.